Democrats continue that shutdown, but Mike Johnson last night laid out the 1.5 trillion reasons why the Democrats continue to make you feel the pain. We'll show it all to you coming up in a sec. Plus, we're just 6 weeks after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and what are Democrats doing? They're calling for your murder. More violent rhetoric from Democrats on mainstream corporate legacy media, and they get away with it, but we're going to call them out for it. Also, the left losing their absolute minds over the renovations to the White House. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the absolute hilarity of it all, plus some hypocrisy and double standards. It's funny, they didn't really make a big deal when Obama renovated the White House. We're going to show you all that and a whole lot more coming up right now. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Thank you for watching, and thank you for giving us a like. If you can hit that thumbs up right now, it's great because you double our audience live as we're going. And if you're watching us after the fact, same thing. And make sure you give us a chat down below. In fact, it's been a couple of weeks since I've asked, so now's a good time for me to test it out and figure out exactly some market research. How did you first learn about this show? How did you come across it? Or is this your first time watching? Let us know that as well. That goes a long way to us building our audience, building our community, and building a lifelong legacy for my children. Thanks so much for being a part of our show today. You know, Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nation is amazing. I love it. There's a war happening right now, and Kimchi 1 is going to be your secret weapon. See, it's probably not the kind of war that you think. The war is in your gut. It's a battle between good and bad bacteria, and it determines your health and overall quality of life. Now, everybody knows that kimchi is a superfood. Kimchi is that traditional Korean food used for over 2,000 years for its remarkable health benefits. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nation, it's the fermented superfood your body needs to arm the good guys with the right weapons to defeat the bad guys once and for all. All health starts in the gut. So putting the right fermented superfood in your gut improves every aspect of your health, your heart, your brain, even the quality of your skin and the growth of your hair. Containing over 900 strains of beneficial bacteria in each capsule, Kimchi 1 supports healthy digestion, fortifies your immune system, and helps detoxify your body. Kimchi has also been known to reduce risk of obesity and promote smaller waistlines by curbing appetite and naturally boosting your metabolism. It really is a superfood. Kimchi 1. It's all natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, 100% made in the USA. MAHA approved. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by going to mybrightcore.com/Larry. Use the code Larry for 25% off your entire order. But we're going to double that up for a better deal. Call my friends at Brightcore, pick up the phone, and you'll get up to 50% off your order. That number is 888-462-4779, 888-462-4779. Well, the Democrat Schumer shutdown continues, and Mike Johnson appeared on CNN last night with Caitlin Collins and, well, laid out the facts, laid out the truth, and revealed the 1.5 trillion reasons why the Democrats continue to hold you hostage with this shutdown. Take a look at the speaker here.
Very different. Those were different times and different circumstances. Let me explain why. This is the first time in history that any party has chosen to close the government down on a clean CR. In previous shutdown battles, you had a lot of different competing priorities, and you had the party who was engaging in the shutdown making demands and adding their partisan priorities to the CR itself. We didn't do that, Caitlin. We have a totally clean, totally nonpartisan, good faith CR. We passed it 33 days ago, and they have kept the government shut down because they refused to do it. It's the first time this has ever happened in history, and it's very audacious. We don't know when the end of this is. Only the Democrats in the Senate can answer that question. And I pray that there's at least 5 centrist Democrats left who will give up this gambit, do the right thing, and get the government open, because real people really are suffering because of this.
They are. And of course, as we showed you yesterday, the number 2 in leadership for the Democrats recognize that suffering is going on, but she's fine with it because your suffering is their leverage, right? And we all know how this is going to end. Democrats know exactly how it's going to end. They just have to figure out a way to somehow save face and spin it and make it look like they won this thing, and see if the mainstream media the corporate legacy media actually goes along with their narrative. They're just writing it out. Now, one thing that the speaker just mentioned there that is really important, if you've seen other government shutdowns in the past, oftentimes it's because the funding bill that everybody's supposed to vote on has a bunch of garbage in it, right? And people stand up and they object to it and they say, well, no, I'm not going to vote for that. It's got garbage in it. And I'm not going to vote for that garbage. You get that garbage out of there and then I'll vote for it. This is the opposite. There's nothing in this. The entire bill is just keeping the government funded. That's it. There's no strings. There's no hidden little poison pills. There's no little landmines. There's no traps. There's no garbage. Republicans in the leadership in the House and in the Senate have been responsible stewards of the federal government. And they've said, well, we got to fund the government. We may not like the money. Trust me, Republicans don't like the funding levels because it's the Biden era funding levels. But they're responsible enough to want to continue this through their CR, their continuing resolution. It's Democrats who are shutting it down because there isn't garbage in it. That's the irony here. But then let's get to that $1.5 trillion figure I mentioned. Listen to this.
Of course, right now we're here on Capitol Hill. The government shutdown is very much still underway. One question I think a lot of people have tonight is how long they should be prepared for this to go on for. In your view, do you think the American people should be prepared for this shutdown to last into November?
You know, the only person who can answer that question is Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues in the Senate. They've now voted a dozen times to keep the government closed. And this is really important, Caitlin. Today, there was a big development on Capitol Hill that the second highest ranked House Democrat in leadership, Whip Catherine Clark, admitted openly that they have shut the government down and that they are using hardworking American families as leverage for what? So that they can show a fight against Trump and also so that they can restore $200 billion in free health care paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens. Yes, that's in their bill. And it's just part of the $1.5 trillion that they have demanded to spend. We're not going to do that. They know we're not going to do that. And she said in her own words today, quote, we know that families will suffer, but this is only one of the leverage times that we have. She said that in her own words, and it was pretty shocking today to hear them say that. They usually don't say the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah, that's right. She actually said it several days ago, but the video went viral partly because of our efforts here on this show. You saw it on our show yesterday. You're their leverage. Your suffering is their leverage. You don't hear this reported very often because the Democrats, they're very good at getting the media to repeat their talking points. And their talking point is, we're trying to save health care. We're trying to make sure that your insurance bills don't go through the roof. Yeah, that's about 20% of what they're trying to get done here with this hostage situation. The rest of it is $1 trillion of crap, of a bunch of, USAID stuff that they're trying to re-implement, funding for transgender Sesame Street in Madagascar or whatever the hell else they do. We'll get you the details coming up in a bit because Hakeem Jeffries was actually challenged on all of it during a presser. But first, here's Mike Johnson earlier today on CNBC Squawk Box.
That they've globbed onto. They actually put on paper, Joe, what they want. They want $1.5 trillion new dollars of wasteful spending. They want to prop up leftist news organizations with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with $500 million. They want to send billions of dollars back overseas to social programs in foreign countries. We're not doing that. And importantly, they want to extend those Obamacare subsidies permanently without any reforms. Oh, by the way, restoring health care to illegal aliens again, that's $200 billion of their demand. That's what they're leveraging. They're using the American people as pawns in this game to leverage to get all of that, and we can't and we will not do it. On the subsidy, it's a very important point. The cost of health care has skyrocketed since Obamacare was created in 2010. It did exactly the opposite of what they promised us.
That's right. Democrats broke the health insurance industry under Obamacare, and now they want your tax dollars to give to the insurance company to artificially make it look like it's not expensive as it really is. That's what they're demanding right now, and they have forced the government to shut down for that and for the other $1 trillion+ of laundry list things that they want to do. We'll get to the details in a moment, but also on CNBC, Ro Khanna, Democrat from California. I keep hearing that he's a reasonable, kind of moderate guy. He's not a crazy one. He's not nuts. He toes the company line. He refuses to even admit that the Democrats are responsible for the shutdown when it's obvious to anybody watching that they are. Watch him lie. Just watch his lips move. He's lying.
Will you break with the party and say this is wrong, that you're, really holding the government hostage to getting what they want? And it wasn't just the $340 billion that they want for the subsidies. They got a bunch of other stuff that they want for that raises it to $1.5 trillion. Will you say that this shouldn't, neither party should be shutting the government to blackmail and hold the other party hostage?
I agree. It's not that both parties
don't give me that
together.
Both. The only one is shutting it down now.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, both parties are Republican. No. There's only one political party doing this. I love how they're both siding this, but at least he went that far. See, the other Democrats won't even say that much. They'll say it's all the Republicans' fault. At least Ro Khanna is like, yeah, both sides are a problem. No, it's not. And you see, Kernan there on CNBC is picking up the Republican talking point on this because it's true. This is the $200 billion for your subsidies for insurance companies to keep health insurance artificially cheaper for the American people, even though you're using their tax dollars, which means you're taxing them and screwing them over and screwing the economy and increasing the deficit so you can make the insurance companies happy because they're in your back pocket ever since Obamacare. Yeah, that's only a part of it. $200 billion out of the $1.5 trillion. What else is in that? What other garbage are you demanding? Well, take a look at this reporter asking Hakeem Jeffries the same thing.
Can you just speak to some of the programs that Democrats want funding for in the $1.5 trillion list of demands? We've heard things like $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million for LGBTQ democracy grants in the Balkans, things like this. You guys say this is about saving healthcare, but how do these pet projects fit
we
in?
have no idea what you're talking about or what Republican extremists fed you those talking points. But the reality is what we are doing is defending the health care of the American people. Yeah, we do want to restore the fact that the largest cut to Medicaid in American history has been visited upon the American people by Donald Trump and Republicans, even though they promised to love and cherish Medicaid. But instead of doing that, they cut about $1 trillion from Medicaid. And as a result of that fact, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing all across the country, including in Republican states like Georgia, like Alabama, and Republican states all across the country. And Republicans have visited the largest cut to Medicaid in American history on their own people. That's what we want to restore. We want to avoid the fact that because of what Republicans did in their one big ugly bill, what they did is to trigger the possibility of a $536 billion cut to Medicare, because Republicans have put a bullseye on Medicare and Social Security since those earned benefits were created. And yet we have a problem with the fact that Republicans want to devastate the Medicare of the American people. And why did they do that? Why did they cut Medicaid by almost $1 trillion? Because they want to reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. And they made those massive tax breaks permanent, while at the same time can't even be bothered to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans who are about to experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. The American people know that Democrats are fighting for them, for working class America, for middle class America, and for everyday Americans, and that Republicans continue to show up for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected.
Wow, that was compelling and really well said, wasn't it? Problem is, it didn't really answer the question. Let me just remind you what the question was.
Can you just speak to some of the programs that Democrats want funding for in the $1.5 trillion list of demands? We've heard things like $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million for LGBTQ democracy grants in the Balkans, things like this. You guys say this is about saving healthcare, but how do these pet projects fit
We
in?
have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. I don't know, Hakeem. You're losing it. You're struggling. Can we get back to the good old days when you were a really effective communicator on behalf of the Democrats? You remember at the very beginning of the shutdown. See, they're like 3 weeks into it now, and he's lost his mojo. And I feel bad for him. So let's go back to the good old days. That first week, right? You remember.
House Republicans shut the government down. Then they ran out of town. And for the last 3 weeks, they're nowhere to be found.
That's what I'm talking about. That's my Hakeem Jeffries. That's all we've got today on the government shutdown, other than the fact that, well, Republicans continue to stay focused and stay resilient, and they're forcing the Democrats to continue to scramble, and the Senate will have another vote, and we'll see if they decide to stop messing around and actually fund the government. Or maybe they're going for a new world record. I don't know. The fact of the matter is it's not really affecting the executive branch of government, and Republicans will going to continue to chug along, and until it looks bad for them in the polls, the Democrats are going to keep doing this. But I will tell you this. There was a lot of thought that as soon as the government shut down, it would be the best thing that ever happened to Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat who's running for governor in Virginia, because you see there's a lot of government workers in Virginia. And so when people got furloughed and there was a government shutdown and it was going to be affecting people in Northern Virginia, that would help Abigail Spanberger and hurt Winsome Sears because she's a Republican, and it would be game over. And we're now, 9 days away from Election Day, 10 days away from Election Day, and that race is closer than it's ever been. That's a perfect indicator that this is not working in the Democrats' favor at all. And at this point, they're just trying to scramble and figure out a way to save face, build a narrative, and get out from under this mess that they've created. My suggestion, put on your sombreros and start dancing. I can't get enough. I'm sorry. I know it's gratuitous, but the sombrero and the Frito Bandito mustache is my favorite thing that's ever happened in American politics. Buy gold. Hold on. Where's my silver? Here it is. Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of the year. Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k. This is money you've already got in your retirement accounts, and they're going to convert those accounts into tax-sheltered IRAs in physical gold. Plus, they're going to send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And speaking of our veterans, if you're a current or former member of the military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you to thank you. They're grateful to you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. Birch Gold, they've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They got tens of thousands of happy customers, many of which are my listeners and viewers. I encourage you to find out how you can diversify your savings into gold. Text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. Get a free info kit on gold and claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases before the end of this month. Again, text my name, Larry, to 989898. Do it today. Put on your sombrero. Make that call. Thank you. Remember how Democrats said that they were against violent political rhetoric on all sides? Everybody needs to calm down. Both sides are guilty of violent political rhetoric. It's terrible. Meanwhile, it's Republicans who end up getting assassinated, attempted assassinations, ICE law enforcement officers who were brutal. Let's start this segment again. Remember how Democrats spent a lot of time saying that there's violent political rhetoric on both sides? Everybody's guilty of this sort of thing. We condemn political violent rhetoric on all sides. Meanwhile, it's conservatives who end up getting assassinated. It's conservatives who end up getting attempted assassinations on their lives. It's law enforcement officers who are brutalized by the Antifa types, right? I mean, it all seems to be coming from one direction. But your legacy media types, they'll wring their hands and they'll say, oh, yes, well, everybody's guilty. Everybody's guilty. Everybody's got to stop this. After all, President Trump tweets out memes and GIFs and stuff. That's bad. All right. Well, we found maybe maybe you'll detect this very, very subtle rhetoric coming from a Democrat on CNN last night that, again, it's subtle. Maybe you'll miss it, but a trained eye can note something that could be interpreted as violent rhetoric.
No, it absolutely doesn't work. I'm from the hood, okay? So when a bully comes, like, if there are no rules, you literally have to figure it out. So Donald Trump has changed things, and people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work. And I think that's why Democrats are losing black people. That's why they're losing poor people, because poor people, all they want is for us to fight. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck, because we can go back and forth fighting in each other's faces. You've got to hit hard enough where they won't come back. And so, yeah, for the same way I went to New York and spoke with Governor Kathy Hochul and said, if they're going to try to wipe us out in Texas, we need to wipe out every Republican in New York, in California, in Illinois.
Okay, so the topic was redistricting. And the solution was, I'm going to come across your neck. I appreciate the slashing gesture across your throat to explain exactly what we're talking about here. We're going to go full OJ on you. I want you to watch that moment again, because it's really important to see how the very responsible, professional teleprompt reader, journalist at CNN, Erin Burnett, watch how she reacts when a Democrat elected official calls for slitting the throats, metaphorically speaking, of course, of Republicans. Watch Erin Burnett here.
And people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work. And I think that's why Democrats are losing black people. That's why they're losing poor people, because poor people, all they want is for us to fight. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck, because we can go back and forth fight.
Did she even blink? Did she even blink? No reaction? No. We don't like that kind of talk here. I'm going to interrupt you right there. Abby Phillip interrupts a Republican if a Republican makes a solid, logical point. Erin Burnett lets the wackadoodle Democrat from Texas talk about slitting the throats of Republicans. In fact, watch her a little bit further into it. As it registers exactly what just happened, you're going to get a smile of confident agreement on this. Watch Erin Burnett carefully here.
Fighting in each other's faces. You've got to hit hard enough where they won't come back. And so, yeah, for the same way I went.
There it is. You got to hit them hard enough so they don't come back. And Erin Burnett's response is, I like you. I admire you. You have tenacity. That's what the Democrats are doing right now, and they're not alone. J.B. Pritzker, is he on Ozempic? I think he's lost weight. He's trim. He's down to like 350 now. J.B. Pritzker, Economic Club of Chicago, what do you have to say?
This is what happened. This is what happened. People's rights started getting taken away. People got accused of being immigrants. This is before the Holocaust really took place. People were accused of being immigrants, and then laws were passed to limit immigrants, and then people who weren't actually immigrants were called immigrants, and then it was othering people, and that led to a lot worse things. What I'm saying is that this is how authoritarian regimes do it. They create these kind of fake ideas that there's an enemy out there, and it could be sitting next to you at one of these tables. And so just somebody at your table that you don't like might be one of those enemies. And so let's round them up. Let's make sure that they are the subject of the laws that we're passing because we don't like who they are. That is what authoritarian regimes do.
Wow. I don't know. Again, I've got a trained eye here. I don't know if you saw it, but it almost seemed like Jabba Pritzker there was comparing the Trump administration and Republicans to Nazis and authoritarian regimes. He specifically said, Germany before the Holocaust, this is how they took power. In other words, we let this go and we'll have Hitler running our country and soon they'll be engaging in a Holocaust. I got to tell you, this is a game changer, guys. Now that they're calling Trump and Republicans Nazis, I mean, now they're really going to hurt us politically, because I don't know why they didn't start doing this 10, 15, 20 years ago. Oh, no, that's right. That's all they do. It's all they have done. It still doesn't work, though. But there he is. And again, just understand the dog whistle involved here, because you're not a Nazi, right? And so what's the best thing to do if you're confronted with a Nazi? If Nazis are taking over your government, what should you do about it? Well, you should revolt. You should take up arms. You should fight back, right? And that's what they're saying. That's what they mean. That's why they call you a Nazi. Because if they call you a Nazi, it dehumanizes you. Nazis aren't human. Nazis are evil. Nazis are vile. Nazis deserve to be stopped at any means necessary. This isn't an accident when they use language like this. They're doing it for a reason. And the fact that there's never any pushback on it from any of the people who are hosting these little television shows or these little BS sessions at the Economic Club of Chicago. All right, let's turn to my favorite podcast now. It's Jurassic on the Air. That would be Al Hunt on the right, liberal Democrat who used to call himself a journalist until he lost his job, and now he's just out of the closet, like Jim Acosta, like Joy Reid, like Terry Moran, like, all of them. And then you got James Carville over there, and let's see what they have to say about Republicans. They're always very generous and giving the benefit of grace and doubt to their political opponents, right?
You know what we do with collaborators,
right?
And my fantasy dream is that this nightmare ends in 2029, and I think we ought to have radical thing. I think they all ought to have their heads shaven. They should be put in orange pajamas, and it should be marched down Pennsylvania Avenue, and the public should be invited to spit on them. All of these collaborators should be shaved, pajamaed, and spit on. It's a moral judgment.
Yeah.
If you bend the knee to a criminal tyrant, and that's what he is. Understand, he is a criminal. 34 convictions would have been a lot more, okay, if they would have pursued it. He is a tyrant. He has no use for democracy. He has no use for the values of this country. And you are collaborating with this, and it will bring eternal shame to your company.
Wow. You're collaborating. Now you're collaborators. These are all buzzwords, right? This all goes back to Nazi regime, fascist regimes. That whole shave your head, put them in orange pajamas, and publicly shame them. That, to be fair, is not Nazis and fascism or anything. No. That's the political left's buddies over there in the Cultural Revolution in Mao Zedong's China. Oh, yeah, and I do mean they're buddies, because James Carville's old pals there, like Anita Dunn and other people who worked in the Obama White House, they love themselves some Mao. So they're perfectly on board with that. The tactics of the Cultural Revolution and the communist authoritarians in Red China are 100% adopted by the political cultural left in America. Mao Zedong invented cancel culture. And there they are fantasizing about their fever dream there, about what they get to do in 2029. Of course, it takes you to keep that from happening, because they're not joking. We've seen this movie before. We know what it was like during the Biden administration, where they did censor you and deplatform you and demonetize you and debank you and fire you if you didn't inject garbage into your veins that they made you inject. We know how this movie goes, and don't think for a second that they won't triple down the next time they have the reins of power. They're telling you right now. I'm pleased to tell you, though, that the Democrats actually do have a couple of outliers. The voice of reason, the only sane man in the room when it comes to the Democrats in Washington, D.C., ironically, is the guy who probably has a bit of brain damage. John Fetterman had a stroke during his campaign for the Senate back in 2022, and once he got into the Senate, suffered from what was deemed some kind of nervous breakdown and had to be hospitalized. But he emerged from all of that with some level of rationality and a moral compass. Here's Fetterman criticizing his own.
I don't know why, and I've always refused to say that. And when then the Vice President Harris referred to President Trump as a fascist, and I knew absolutely we lost the plot at that point. You know, if you call the president or someone like a fascist, you're effectively calling the people that are going to vote for him, and then they must be fascist too, or they support fascism and those things, and that's just not true. That's just not it. I happen to know, and I love a lot of people that voted for the president, and they're not fascists, they're not Nazis, they're not trying to destroy the Constitution and all those things. They just happen to have a different priorities, and they love our country in the same ways that Democrats do as well. So I refuse to do those kinds of a thing, because that kind of extreme kinds of rhetoric makes it easier for those kinds of extreme kinds of actions, even like what happened to poor Charlie Kirk and that. And now why you can't allow people to grieve and now use that an opportunity to criticize or to turn it into something. It's like, that's just basic humanity there. And like, we're forgetting that we need each other. We need each other here. And now I refuse to be a part of it and comparing people to Hitler and those things, because if that's what's required to win, then I refuse to.
There you go. And I just want you to know something right now. Amongst the Democrat Party, amongst the Democrat base and the caucus and the establishment in Washington, D.C., he is hated. They've been trying to drum him out of office and get him to resign in shame by floating all of these scandal stories about him. And it hasn't worked. They're going to primary him the next time he's up for re-election in 2028 because they hate him because of what he just said. Because he actually thinks of his political opponents as human beings that deserve some modicum of respect and engagement. That he thinks that it's not okay to mock and ridicule and criticize people as they're mourning the death of their friend or husband, Charlie Kirk, that calling people fascist and Nazis actually is a conversation ender that can only result in radical violence. They hate him for saying that and for pointing that out. That's where they are right now as a political party. I pray every day that they come back off the edge, but I don't see an indication that they will. Meanwhile, in the Senate, Bernie Moreno of Ohio pointed out the latest political violence that's made it to the headlines. Of course, that would be the text messages out of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we talked a little bit this morning about text messages. I thought that was interesting because I've never seen a witness who wasn't here question. But I thought in the spirit of text messages, we should read some. It talks about a text message that was sent out. Says, if you guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. And then talks about how they want the Jennifer Gilbert's children to die in front of her so she can feel pain. That is the candidate for Attorney General from the state of Virginia. Would you, Senator Peters, condemn that text message, asking their children to die in front of their parents, and he can go to their funeral and piss on their graves?
I don't believe I'm a witness here today. Thank you,
Okay,
Senator.
so just want to point out for the record that the bar is so low that you can't condemn somebody wanting political violence.
That's right. Couldn't do it. Oh, I'm not a witness here. Don't ask me questions. I mean, that's a layup. That's a no-brainer. That's a slam dunk. And you don't even have to be Michael Jordan or have any kind of vertical lift to execute the slam dunk. Will you condemn those text messages? Of course I condemn those text messages. It's abhorrent. Thank you, Senator. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. Couldn't even do that. Couldn't even do that. That's where we are right now. It's October 23rd, 2025. We're 6 weeks after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and Democrats cannot bring themselves to condemn those text messages. In fact, we have a Democrat elected official from Texas who went on CNN last night, said, you punched me in the face. I come at your throat, and made a slashing gesture across her throat. And Aaron Burnett of CNN just nodded along in approval. Isn't this great? That's where we are. But what was I supposed to say here to wrap? Oh, yeah, that's right. We condemn political violence on all sides of the political equation. Both sides are guilty. Both sides are equally guilty. I can't. You're too smart for that. I won't even try. As you know, President Trump is renovating the East Wing of the White House. He's putting in a ballroom right now. I'll get to the reasons why that ballroom is necessary and why it's a good thing, and how many previous presidents and administrations before the Trump 47 administration contemplated this and debated and discussed doing it. And I'll also talk about how this is going to benefit presidencies for decades to come. I'm going to talk about all of that because that's the last thing people in the corporate legacy media or the Democrats who they control or control them are interested in talking about. They don't talk about whether it's a good idea to fix the ballroom and put it into the renovated East Wing at all. That's the last thing they want to talk about. All they want to talk about is rage. Rage at Donald Trump. Well, here's the chief rager, Hakeem Jeffries, who's making a promise to the American people.
Donald Trump is once again preparing to fly out of the country. The East Wing of the White House is being demolished so that Donald Trump can construct a ballroom where he will be celebrated like a king. And at the same time, Trump is trying to rob taxpayers of $230 million to continue to line his pockets. And yet Republicans have zero interest, none, in addressing the healthcare crisis that they've created, just devastating people all across the country.
Yeah, he seems serious about that, doesn't he? There's a little bit more from Hakeem here about the renovations. I love, he's demolishing the East Wing. No, he's not demolishing the East Wing. He's renovating the East Wing. That's how renovations go. Do you not watch HGTV? This is what happens with a renovation. You do the demo part first. A little bit more. Hakeem, go ahead. What else is on your mind, Hakeem?
Any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable, no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
Yeah, so they keep using these words. He's destroying, he's demolishing, he's ready to know. He's actually building and creating the White House East Wing and fixing it and making it better and improving it. More on that in a minute. What you're watching here is the formation of the Democrats' campaign to take over the House of Representatives in 2028, right? Oh, no one's holding him accountable. You need us to be in the majority so we can have hearings, we can run impeachments, we can run investigations, and we can hold them accountable, because right now the Republicans won't do it. That's going to be their message. They don't have any other ideas. It's not like they can run and say, elect us, we'll fix healthcare, because we've seen that movie before and we're living through the nightmare ending of it, right? They don't have any other things. They certainly don't have any ideas. They don't have any campaign positions at all other than Donald Trump needs to be kept in check. And that might work. That might be an effective message. And that's what you're seeing. That's why they're making such a big deal out of the renovations. They know better. The people who work in the media in Washington, D.C. certainly know better. And they're counting on the ignorance, sadly, of the American people. And when I say ignorance, I don't mean you're uneducated. I don't mean you're stupid. I just mean you don't live in D.C. You don't walk past the White House every day. You don't go there to work on a regular basis. You don't go there for events because you're a normal person. And when you see the White House, you see the iconic image of the mansion, right? And you think, oh my gosh, the East Wing, you mean the entire eastern part of the building? And the answer to your question is no. The East Wing is not part of the historic White House mansion that was designed and built by George Washington and finished up by John Adams. Here, let me show you. Again, they're counting on you not understanding this. All right, so look in the middle of this picture. Let's blow that up. All right, the middle of the picture is the White House. That's the building that was designed by George Washington and Mr. L'Enfant, the person who actually laid out the map of Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, when it was created in the first Congress. The mansion is where the president's office was, where his residence is upstairs, and where many state affairs took place on a regular basis. That footprint right there. Now, if you look at the orange rooftops that go to the east and the west of the mansion, those were additions. On one side is the West Wing. You've heard of that. Aaron Sorkin wrote a TV show about it. And on the other side is the East Wing. Now, you hear about the West Wing more than any other part, because the West Wing is where the briefing room is for the press and the media. It's where the Oval Office is. Did you know the Oval Office didn't used to be oval? President Taft renovated the White House and made it an Oval Office. What? How could he do that? That's an abomination, right? The West Wing and the portico there, which is that red rooftop, that was created by Teddy Roosevelt 110 years ago because they needed to expand. We're a big country. We've grown quite a bit, and the executive branch has grown quite a bit from the John Adams administration, right? Also in the West Wing are the Roosevelt room, the cabinet room, things like that. Underneath, down in the basement, is where the office space is. Behind the West Wing, there's that little blue tarp. That's the Rose Garden. The green grass there next to the West Wing by the portico. That's the Rose Garden. It's got a marble slab on it now because Trump's renovated that as well. All right, so that's the West Wing. You hear about the West Wing all the time. You don't hear about the East Wing very much. As you go east on the White House grounds there, you got the Treasury building right next to it. That's the first big federal building right next to the White House. That tells you how important the Treasury is. But before you get to the Treasury, you've got the East Wing. Now, what happens in the East Wing? Good question. Nobody knows. It's not the most active space, to be honest with you. It's where the First Lady's office is. It's got some other spaces over there. There's a couple of, offices and things like that. You see the part where the yellow line is around there? That's where the demolition is taking place. So they're purposely showing you pictures at the ground level, showing you the demolition. And in the background, you can sort of see the mansion in the background. And I'm telling you, if you polled the American people, 80% of them would think that it's the mansion that's being renovated right now. And it's not. It's this annex building. The East Wing was built and renovated by Franklin Roosevelt for his own private swimming pool, by the way. During the Depression. Oh, you hear this a lot from Democrats in Washington, D.C. Oh, my gosh, gas prices are high and people can't afford their grocery bills, and Trump is spending all this money on a ballroom. Franklin Roosevelt, in the East Wing, the same space we're talking about, built himself a private indoor swimming pool during the Depression. And he's their hero. Get out of my face with this crap. It's all a drummed up fake controversy. And all the usual morons are playing along, like this one.
So this will also be decided. This is the part that really tickles me. It's going to be decided by some of the same Justice Department lawyers who worked with him on these past cases. So Americans, the question is, are you on board with all of this? This is like a cash grab. Yeah. And your taxes are probably going to be paying for that.
That ballroom.
Yeah, your taxes are going to get paid for the ballroom. By the way, probably your taxes should pay for the ballroom because it's an important room for state functions. I'll get to that in a minute. But that's just a lie. This is an ABC News show. She is an ABC News host on an ABC News program under the umbrella of ABC News executives, and she just told the viewing audience that your tax dollars are paying for the ballroom, and it's an absolute lie. Private money being raised to do this. Oh, and you saw Hakeem Jeffries. Well, it's pay to play. What are people going to be expecting in return for paying for this ballroom? It's funny. I don't remember any of them asking that question when Bill and Hillary Clinton literally rented out the Lincoln bedroom to the highest bidder. Not, by the way, to benefit the government for building a ballroom for dignitaries and state functions for decades to come. No, they rented out the Lincoln bedroom so that they could raise money for their own pathetic political campaign. And not one of them raised a concern about that, of course. But what I can't get over is the ignorance. If I may, Gretchen Carlson, who, by the way, say what you will about her politics. And I actually know Gretchen. I was a regular on her show like 3 Gretchen Carlsons ago when she did the midday show on Fox News Channel. And I enjoyed being on her show. Okay. But my God, Gretchen. She's deleted this by now because I corrected her last night, but she put out this picture of herself in the East Room, the historic East Room of the White House. You know, when you see a president walk down that long red carpeted corridor and walks through the gold drapes and then delivers an address to the American people, that's the East Room. That's the East Room. Okay. That's the president walking through the center of the mansion from his office and going into the East Room and addressing the American people. I did an event in the East Room. I interviewed President Trump in the first term from the East Room. Look it up. Google it. It's great. It's not a very big room. It was meant originally in the original design to handle banquets and state functions, and they use it to a certain extent right now, but for small functions. Right now at the White House, if you've got a big state dinner with a ton of people and, you know, doing the kind of thing that heads of state do when they're president of the United States, and you've got the Prime Minister of India and you've got the Queen of England or whatever, you know what they do right now at the White House? They do it in a tent. In a tent. They put out a tent, and it costs millions of dollars, by the way, for the high-end tents, and then to have all the tables and the catering and all the things that it takes to do an event inside a tent on the South Lawn, and then they have to take it down and all the labor that's involved in doing all of that. And it looks like a circus, and they do it in a tent. After the ballroom is built, think of all the money and time that they're going to save and how much more beautiful it's going to be. And, oh, by the way, you can do a state dinner, you know, in the winter in D.C. instead of just doing them in the summer in a tent. All right. So anyway, here's Gretchen Carlson in the East Room. I was in the East Room of the White House in March of 2022 to witness history when we signed into law. Was she co-president with Joe Biden? She might as well have been. She could have been the auto pen for all we know. We signed into law the Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment Act. Oh, wow. The EFASA. No, wait. The EFASA. The EFASA. Who can forget the EFASA bill? Our lives were all changed after that one. Now that East Room doesn't exist anymore. Sad. White House demolition. You know, it is sad because that's a person telling the entire world that she is either ignorant or a liar. It is sad. The East Room, look at me. Here I am in the East Room, and now that room doesn't exist. So that's the East Room. That's the footprint of the mansion of the White House. That room is intact. That room's not being touched. That building is not being touched. It's not the East Room, Gretchen. It's the East Wing, which most people never go to or even see. They couldn't find the East Wing if they had to. Oh, and by the way, take a look at it. This is the mansion. This is the big mansion of the White House that was built in the late 18th century and has been the iconic home and the place of business for the presidents all the way back to John Adams. Washington never got to live there. He had to do his work out in New York, sadly. So you have an image of the White House now, right? That's the footprint of the White House. Now take a look at this picture. Do you know what that is? That's the White House. That's the White House in the late 1940s, after World War II, when President Truman renovated it. They had to gut the entire thing out. Everything that you see in the White House right now, not the furnishings, not the sofas and the tables and the antiques. I'm talking about the walls, the banisters, the window sills, the moldings and all that. It goes back to 1950. There is nothing extraordinary at all about, and that's the actual mansion of the White House, not the East Wing. That's the White House. And that's what Truman did. Josh Hawley was asked by Manu Raju, CNN reporter, intrepid man that he is, on Capitol Hill, about the horrific end of our country renovation of the East Wing of the White House. And Hawley handled it perfectly.
What about just uprooting this is an iconic building?
Manu, I will just say this. I made this point yesterday, that I hear all of a sudden from my liberal friends that they're very concerned about our history. Really, these are the same people who tore down every statue they could get their hands on in the last 4 years. Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt. They didn't have any concern for history then. Now all of a sudden, like, oh, the facade of the East Wing is iconic. Oh, give me a break. I mean,
thank you. Give me the facade of the East Wing is iconic and must not be touched. Statue of George Washington, rip it down, decapitate it, and throw it into the Potomac. Oh, by the way, so this is how CNN is now covering this renovation of that. Nick, can I just remind you again what we're talking about here? That's the White House grounds, right? That's the entirety of the White House grounds. Look at the yellow square. That's what's being renovated right now and built out. That little square right there. Okay. But what you just saw is how CNN is reporting on this story. Now, it was just 2 presidencies ago, when Barack Obama was president, when there was another renovation at the White House. Now, CNN reported on that at the time. Again, it's very subtle, but you might see a slight difference in how they covered that renovation versus this renovation. Take a look.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
And we love every bit of it because it's Barack Obama. Oh, and get this, the best part, he's building a basketball court for himself so he can have LeBron over to shoot hoops. Isn't he just the best? You honestly don't hate these people enough. I have to say, though, on CNN, somehow, accidentally, they went off the script last night, and we did have a voice of reason. Tim Parrish laid it out.
I find it very interesting that we're having this conversation because FDR actually built the East Wing, put a pool in for himself. President Obama was a basketball player, put a basketball court in. President Nixon was a bowler and put a bowling alley. All personal things they want to do. The president is doing an addition to the People's House. It's going to be able to hold hundreds of people. Instead of cramming people in, foreign visitors and other folks that we've crammed into these rooms, we're going to have an actual ballroom that we can properly host people in the White House. And he's paying for it, and private donors are paying for it. So any correlation, he's putting his personal dollars in along with private donors.
The pool and the basketball court did not disrupt the structure of the White House. That's the first thing.
And
the second thing,
changes.
But hold on, Tim, the second thing.
Wait, I am shocked that Abby Phillip interrupted a conservative when he was making a good, sound, logical, and effective point on her show. And also, may I remind you, if I have to look at it again, let's look at it together. This renovation is not disrupting the structure or operations of the White House. The operations of the White House are in the West Wing, number one. Number two, see the building across the street from the West Wing? That's the old executive office building. That's where the staff of the White House works. That's where most people have their offices. It's very rare to have an office in the West Wing, but everything is over there. The East Wing side, and this is the furthest you can get to the East Wing side, is not part of the operations of this is not disrupting anything at the White House. I'm so tired of it. I got to say, though, one person who has made a salient point in all of this is honestly our favorite member of Congress. We can't get enough of her. She actually made this point a little while ago, but it really resonates today. Jasmine Crockett, what's the most important thing about the work going on at the White House?
The most educated demographic in this country right now is Black women. The same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House. And I can promise you, it was my ancestors that built the White House.
Well, that explains why there was no ballroom. I do love this line. It was my ancestors that built. Michelle Obama used to use this as a political cudgel all the time. I wake up every day in a house that was built by slaves. My ancestors, and it's true. Enslaved Africans, owned mostly by Democrats, did do the bulk of the heavy labor on the White House. But also, I know this is politically incorrect to point out, but the other tradesmen that worked on the White House were Europeans, not Americans, by the way. No, it was immigrant European labor, my people. I'm not saying that it's equal. I'm just saying her ancestors weren't alone on the job. Are we allowed to say that? No, we're not. Not one bit. Yesterday, during an Oval Office presser, President Trump was asked about how he has lacked transparency in the details. This is the other trope you hear, that there's been no transparency. You lied to the American people. You didn't tell them the extent of this job. You didn't tell them how big it was going to be. You've been hiding this from the American people. Watch how he handles it.
I just want a quick follow-up on that question. You're responding to people who say that you haven't been transparent enough about this.
I haven't been transparent.
That's some of your critics feel it should
I've shown this to everybody that would listen. Third-rate reporters didn't see it because they didn't look. You're a third-rate reporter, always have been. So third-rate reporters didn't look, but anybody that asked, these pictures have been in newspapers. They've been all over the place, and we're very proud of it. It's gotten great reviews. It's gotten really great reviews. So
I do love that it's always about the reviews, but it's true. That model, look at the model on the coffee table. He has shown it to everyone. He's talked about it all the time for the last couple of months. Look at this. Look at the model. Look at what I got. The White House has put out renderings of the thing every single day. This is coming. It's going to happen. It's going to do it. I don't know what everybody's so upset about it. I mean, I've seen the renderings and I think it looks cool. Why? Why are people so concerned about the renovations of the East Wing? I think it's going to fit in perfectly. It looks good to me. And for those of you who are listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, you might want to swing over to the video and check out the 58-minute mark so you know what we're talking about. Don't believe any of the hype. Don't believe any of the lies. Listen, I will say this, the last thing about the renovation, and hopefully we won't have to talk about this fake story again, but I will tell you this. I kind of get it. To be honest, if this were a president that I hated as much as they hate Donald Trump, seeing demolition of part of the facade of the White House, even the East Wing or the West Wing, it would resonate. It would be symbolic. It would actually probably bother me and anger me. But I'll leave you with two things that you should really consider whenever you see this hysterical coverage or whenever you hear somebody on your liberal friends on your Facebook page who were posting pictures and saying, this is awful, this is terrible. Just recognize two very important things here in this entire story. Number one, all of the criticism, all of the hysteria, all of the screaming, all of the everything that you hear about this renovation, is coming from people who always leave out one fundamental question with regard to this renovation and the creation of the ballroom. The one thing that they never bring up: is it a good idea? Is this actually something that is good for the country, for the executive branch of government, and for presidents moving forward? Notice that? That's the one thing they never discuss, right? And the second thing that you don't ever hear from any of them is, who does Trump think he is? I mean, after all, what does he know about renovation and buildings? You never hear that either, do you? Last week, we showed you that astounding scene on The View when Cheryl Hines, the wife of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your Secretary of Health and Human Services, went into the lion's den, and then, they tried to rip her a new one. She held her own. She stood by her man, as well she should, and she stood by the truth. What you may not have seen, and what we just picked up on, was a couple of days earlier, CBS News interviewed Cheryl Hines as well. Take a look at this.
I think I'll ever get used to being a political spouse? Yes, a political spouse. A cabinet spouse.
But she is getting used to Washington, where Hines moved earlier this year when her husband, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., joined the Trump cabinet.
Next president of the United States.
In 2023, Hines helped her husband, Bobby, join the family business.
From the moment he announced he was running, I knew our lives would never be the same. I found it stressful that Bobby didn't get Secret Service protection.
Because you were concerned about his safety.
Concerned about his safety. And I think every day somebody would say to me, are you worried about him getting shot like his father and like his uncle? And I was very worried about it. Still worried about it. I don't think Bobby tells me all of the threats that he gets, if I'm being honest.
Threats that increased as Kennedy emerged as a prominent critic of COVID vaccine.
Yeah, also as a prominent critic of the Biden administration and President Biden. And don't forget, it was the Biden administration and his Department of Homeland Security that made the call to not provide Secret Service protection to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And oh, by the way, I don't know, maybe it's me, but I think that the family history of the Kennedys may actually increase the need for some security to the man who actually carries the name of Robert F. Kennedy, a presidential candidate who ended up being assassinated back in '68. It all was unnerving at the time. And now we're getting reports that there's even more concern about the safety of the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Why exactly is he under threat? Well, let's try to shed some light on that with an absolute groundbreaking individual who is reinventing the health industry as we speak. She's the founder of Brightcore, Kim Bright. Now we know where we got the name Brightcore. Kim, thank you so much for lending yourself to this conversation.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Larry.
And we're not overstating the case. There really are indications that Bobby Kennedy, even after taking his position as Secretary of Health and Human Services, maybe even faces greater dangers here. He's created a lot of enemies.
Yes, he has, but because why? He's exposing the truth. I mean, he's been dealing with them for years, and he sees their effects, their bad effects on people's health, and all the different, things that are out there that they're saying are safe, and they're really not. And so I think he's shining light on a dark area.
Listen, I've mentioned before that I disagree with him on a lot of the climate change and fossil fuel stuff, but that's not really his focus. His focus is on nutrition, on agriculture and the agriculture industry and pharmaceuticals. Take a look at this segment from Joe Rogan's podcast here where they talked about that in particular. Watch with me.
Found in our arteries that the presence of microplastics was associated with two to threefold increased risk of cardiovascular death.
So here it is, partnering with Environmental Health News, a consumer watchdog sent 40 bandages of different brands to U.S. Environmental Protection Agency certified lab. The lab found that 65% of the bandages contain detectable levels of synthetic forever chemicals, literally mainlining right into your bloodstream.
It's nuts. And you talk about this stuff today on social media and you're accused of fear mongering, of being alarmist. You're not.
Yeah, what is that, though? Is that trolls from pharmaceutical companies? I mean, that's something that I guarantee you corporations use.
Kim, let's talk about that because we've all experienced it. When I give my opinion on this platform or on other social media platforms, if it goes against a certain conventional wisdom, big corporate narrative, we get silenced.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, the big pockets, deep pockets, and think about that. You're mainlining all those chemicals into when you use Band-Aids, when you use those things on your skin. And who gets those on their skin a lot? Children. I mean, let's look at that too. And most people, they think the threat to RFK, Larry, comes from pharmaceutical interests. But the actual greater threat, I think, and the bigger industry is those who are benefiting from evading the policy that would combat the microplastic pollution. So let's just think about how many companies are benefiting from the continual use of plastics, how much money's behind that. It's far larger than the entirety of the pharmaceutical industry. And the liberal left has been battling RFK Jr. on everything he's been trying to do. Even when it's to their own benefit, they battle him. But microplastic pollution has continued to rise despite RFK Jr.'s proposals. And I know he's trying to fight it, but it's been rising.
We hear about microplastics a lot. First of all, is there any way to avoid them? Because plastic is such a part of our lives now, from the phones we use to by the way, medical instruments and such. I mean, it's not like you can get plastic out of your life, can you?
Well, I'll tell you, RFK Jr. is promising action against these microplastics, but now humans are ingesting 6 times more microplastics than they did in 1990, Larry. Think about that, 6 times more.
That's remarkable. And let's actually, I've got another clip here of Kennedy. He was in a hearing, I think it was in the Senate hearing the other day, and I missed this too, but he specifically spoke out against microplastics, and it certainly reinforces what you're saying in terms of these corporate interests and industries lining up against him. Take a look. Here's the secretary.
The latest effort will be removing harmful microplastics found in our food, water, and even air.
We don't know the effects of microplastics in the human body, but we have disturbing studies that link microplastics to cancer, to dementia, and reproductive problems.
Okay, so, and again, we're used to Secretary Kennedy going out and he used his social media platform before he became HHS secretary, and he raised the alarm about a lot of these things. But can you help us break this down, Kim, exactly what is the danger with microplastics and how exactly do they get into our bloodstream and stuff?
Well, if you think about it, they're in the air, they're in the soil, they're in the water, they are in the clothing. So many people are recycling plastic and making it into clothes, shoes. So every time you wear that, you're getting it into your body. And when you heat up from wearing these things, or you're heating things up in a microwave, in the plastic dishes, or in the little toaster ovens, or you're using, all these foods that are kept in plastics in stores and things. You're just ingesting constantly the microplastics into your body. And there was a study that was done that found microplastics in blood clots and linked them to higher rate of death. So you are 450% more likely to die from heart attack or stroke if microplastic plaque is found in your arteries or veins. These microplastics, they're nanoplastics too. They're not just micro, they're also nano. And these things are all different shapes and sizes. They're jagged edges. They come in, they rip the inside of our veins and arteries, then plaque builds up. They do the same thing in our gut, and they do it in our brain, they do it in our heart. And do you know that 94% of the water worldwide, no matter if it's bottled, if it's out of the tap, whatever, contains microplastics. And 88% of meat and protein sources are now just inundated with the microplastics.
Yeah. So, and this starts to feel overwhelming after a while when you start looking at it. I want to get into what can be done and what kind of solution, but let's talk about the danger again. I saw this report on News Nation. They've been doing some really good work, especially about health and sort of the MAHA movement here. Take a look.
Ones, we've got clear ones.
Tons of microplastics wash ashore all over the world every day. And now for the first time, scientists in the Netherlands have detected microplastic pollution in human blood.
All the microplastics and nanoplastics we are exposed to, we inhale and we ingest, that actually, there's so much plastic that it
can even enter our bloodstream.
The Dutch study on blood samples from healthy adults detected tiny plastic particles in 80% of people.
All right. So now, Kim, people are going to say, oh, sure. That's the case. You know, it's all very small. It's microscopic. It may be there, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily causing any harm, right? It's not going to hurt you. Do they have
You can be stupid and think that.
You can always choose stupid, Kim.
Yeah, you can always choose stupid, and you can't fix stupid. But I'm here to tell you it's causing harm. And there's studies done. I mean, right now, our brains are 99.5% human and 5% plastic. We've got the equivalent of 7 grams of plastic in our brain because it's so fatty. And these plastics, like fat, they go to where we have fat in our body. That if you took a plastic white teaspoon and put it up in your brain, that's what you've got in your brain now. And compared
that's insane. We're actually looking at a graphic. I just want all of our viewers to know they're very smart, but I just want to be sure that's not literally a spoon in somebody's brain, but it's the equivalent of a spoon.
The equivalent. That's your 7 grams. That just to give you a picture. But you know, compared to autopsy brain samples from 2016, we are now 50% higher than what they were back then. So now, again, as I said, our brains today are 99.5% brain and the rest is plastic.
So now here's the good news. You know, everybody knows that you got critters going on inside your body. We've all got them in there. Don't worry about it. Don't freak out. A lot of those critters inside your body are good critters. And that's actually where kimchi comes in. This amazing, I love eating kimchi when I go to Korean barbecue, but this fermented food that goes back centuries in Asia, you've actually discovered, and scientists have discovered, that there's actually an incredible solution here with kimchi and this very problem. Yeah.
Right, with BPA. I mean, this is incredible because, you know, these plastics, here's another thing, they're endocrine disruptors. They mimic estrogen. So now we see guys that, have erectile dysfunction. They have all kinds of problems. Women are.
They have moobs, Ken. We can say it. They have man boobs.
They have man boobs. And
yeah, like George Conway. I don't know if George Conway specifically has man boobs because of the plastic. Could be something else, but it's definitely a thing. Also, Eric Swalwell. I don't mean to get political on you, Kim.
Oh, well, you know what? I agree with you 100%. But you're dealing with fetal abnormalities, brain and behavior disorders, obesity. And so when you're exposed to BPA, which is one of the main plastics, but I got so excited, Larry, when I found this study that showed that this actual, this type of plastic could be degraded by an incredible probiotic called Bacillus pumilis, and it has been isolated from kimchi. And so oh my gosh, I was so excited because it actually has the ability to attract these microplastics. And on top of the microplastics being so bad, Larry, they attract, because of their whole electrical static thing, whatever they have going on, they pull in heavy metals, they pull in other toxic things. And so you're getting a whole cocktail here when the microplastics enter. But kimchi is the #1 thing for your gut flora. It has over 900 unique strains of beneficial bacteria. And the pumilis is one of them. And it's a great one because the day you're born till the day you die, you have a war going on in your gut. You got it going on between the good and the bad bacteria. You got it going on against the other invaders, the viruses. You've got the, all these different pathogens that exist in our gut. They're there for a reason. God put them there so when we die, the body can return back to the soil. But we're not dying yet, so we don't need those guys in action. So we have to fight them. We have to fight them. And so you need to call in the special forces, like the Navy SEALs or something like that. That's what kimchi is. Kimchi special forces. So
this is why they call kimchi a superfood, right?
Exactly.
There's certain foods that are superfoods. Kimchi is one of them. The problem is, first of all, I happen to like it, but not everybody can eat kimchi. It's spicy. It's got, and also I think to really get the benefits, I read somewhere, you'd have to eat a ton of kimchi every day, right? To get all of the benefits from it.
Yes, exactly. And kimchi has been shown to help, that it boosts your immunity, and you've got 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. It lowers blood pressure, glucose levels. People that have diabetes, this is great for. Triglycerides are lowered, bad cholesterol is lowered, and it also reduces body fat. And it's exciting because there's actually a study that showed that kimchi can reduce body fat by 31.8%.
Wow, that's all right. And by the way, speaking of Bobby Kennedy Jr., for those MAHA members of our audience who really do love the Secretary of Health and Human Services, he's on board with the kimchi thing. Here he was revealing that.
Mainly meat and then fermented vegetable, anything fermented. So a lot of kimchi and all kinds of fermented vegetables. And it's really, I would say it's dramatically changed my, everything.
It's changed his everything.
Everything. I
There you
love it.
go.
I love it. Yeah, the fermented foods are great, and we all should eat a lot of fermented foods, like he said. But what he really focused on was the kimchi, because it is the king of fermented foods. You can eat sauerkraut, pickles, all these different fermented foods, yogurts, but kimchi has the over 900 unique strains of those probiotics. And I mean, he's so healthy. Doesn't he look great?
I mean, I don't know. Let me see here. He's what now? Like 74 years old or something?
71.
Let's see. All right, I couldn't do that when I was 21. I'm a little jealous now. But I didn't eat kimchi, so maybe that's the thing.
key. There's something different about people who consume kimchi. But can you believe he's 71 years old? I mean, 71. I'm turning 71 soon. And so it just pays to eat kimchi. I have so many people tell me you do not look your age. So I think it pays to eat some kimchi. And another good thing is I just am a sponge for research. And I read some studies where they introduced kimchi into human cells that were in test tubes, and it actually slowed the aging of the cells. So it's anti-aging as well. So even if you're older than 71, never too late to start something that's going to help you age healthier. And if you're young, I mean, Larry, you're so young. You're very young. So you can eat more kimchi and do what you need to do now to continue to live a healthy life, because aren't we living in a world that's trying to kill us? I mean, poison.
I mean, you've just painted a picture that makes it sound like everything around us is getting into our bloodstream and our brains, and it's doing its best to get rid of us. So this is why I was always excited to team up with Brightcore and Kimchi One. I'm taking it now every day, and I want my audience, which continues to grow, I want them to be around for many, many decades, so we can build this community together. And it seems like what you described here, Kimchi One, is sort of the solution, because it's your way to get all of those benefits from kimchi without just sitting and eating it all day long.
That's right. And you've got to be proactive. If you're not proactive and you're not going to do something, we're just being bombarded constantly. And nothing that's in our control determines our health more than what we put in our bodies. And that's why we created Kimchi One. And it's got, as you said, convenience without the taste, the odor, the mess, and the importance of daily consumption. It's easy to get plenty to really get the results. And when you eat homemade kimchi or store-bought kimchi, it's high in sodium. So people that are on low sodium diets or have to watch their salt intake, we have taken virtually almost all the sodium out. And we've helped so many people, Larry, their digestion, their regularity, they're not bloated anymore. People say they can go dancing again without worrying about the gas coming out both ends. Their immunity. People used to get sick all the time. They're saying, I don't get sick anymore, because it's boosted that immune system in their guts and that energy level. No more chronic fatigue. They're active again. They're out there dancing, living life to its fullest. And their skin, it affects our skin. It's glowing. They look younger than they have in years. We have direct connection from the gut to the skin, the gut to the brain. So you think clearer, and you don't get the brain fog, and people are just feeling better and experiencing overall better health.
Well, Meredith and I are taking Kimchi One every single day now, and it's just been a little over a week, and I'm already feeling the higher energy big time. It definitely has had that effect on me. I was thrilled to find out that you're part of our audience. You like the show, the show. And so, you know, the family, the community that we've built here amongst our daily viewers and our daily listeners. Is there any chance you got an offer for them so that they can try Kimchi one themselves?
Let me think about that. I think I might. I think I might.
All right. It was a setup.
Yeah, let's get 25% off your order of kimchi one today using code Larry. Go to mybrightcore.com/Larry. Again, that's mybrightcore.com/Larry. Or get up to 50% off your order plus free shipping. Only when you call, though.
Yeah.
You know, that's 888-462-4779. I'll tell you why. I'm an educator, been doing it for almost 50 years now with people, helping them with their health. And we want you to call so we can talk to you and make sure that you have your questions answered and that this product is right for you. And I tell you what, Larry, let's give your first 100 callers in to order the kimchi one another great thing, a free bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2. Again, call, that's 888-462-4779.
Oh, that is so generous of you. Thank you so much for that. And here's I love having this conversation because these days, our health and what we can do personally to improve our health and sort of battle back against all the things that are sort of coming at us that we just described here, it intersects with news and politics every day. I mean, keeping yourself healthy and doing what you can to sort of go outside the bounds of the health industry. I think we all learned our lesson during the pandemic about that industry and about how powerful it is. That's very much a political decision that we make every day to make sure that we protect ourselves, protect our wives and husbands and our children. So that's why I find it very important to have these conversations, Kim, because you're plugged in on all this stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been doing it for 50 years. I started with myself and been doing it a long time. I was Maha before Maha was around.
That's right. There you go. And you'll be Maha after Maha.
There you go.
After Maha. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it. Love the friendship you've given us. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Well, same to you and good luck in that run you're going to do.
I know. Full marathon. I'm a little scared, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Maybe I'll pop the kimchi as I'm running the marathon. See if that works. Let's put the graphic up one more time so everybody knows exactly what to do. Use the QR code that you see on your screen. 25% off mybrightcore.com/Larry. Use the word Larry. I don't know about you, but I'm craving Korean food now. I want my kimchi. And I am running a marathon this Sunday. The Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. Come out and root for me. Actually, don't. I like running alone. I don't want anyone to notice me. I'm going to be incognito, but I'm going to do it. My first marathon. I'm ready to go. Man my age. All right, let's get to your super chats now. And what do we got going for us here, Mr. Kevin? Stumble Boots with the $2 super chat. You're cool. Boy, the focus on that lens. That is something else. Thank you, Stumble Boots. Thanks, Clippy. God's best friend, GBF with the £2 super chat. Don't worry about the Dems. Redistrict Gaza. Yeah. Well, I think Rashida Tlaib already represents that district. Psychological Projectionist with £2 super chat. Pritzker explains othering to call people Nazi socialists. Yeah. The othering. They're the kings and queens and they thems of othering. GBF with a £5 super chat. I got an AstraZeneca shot because I wanted to hug my mom-in-law. Nearly killed me. It's off the shelf now. Oh yeah, I didn't get AstraZeneca. I had to get a shot. I had to get the shot. I never did the boosters, never did anything, but the shot I had to get to leave the country. Well, actually, I had to come back from leaving the country. Which one did I get? I didn't get the Pfizer. I got the other one. What was the other one? Kevin, do you remember what the other one was?
Johnson & Johnson, Moderna.
Moderna. That's the one I got. I got Moderna. Dogboy, $2 super chat. Biggest pay to play scheme. That's Killary, pal. Yeah. The suicide queen. Jeff Depew Sr. with $2 super chat. Democrats pissed because Trump is using his money. Hey, we got a new picture with the beard looking even more epic. Thanks, Jeff. Edward Emmer with a $10 super chat. Larry, my wife Angela says you make her laugh all morning long. Angela, that was supposed to be between you and me. Don't tell the husband about it. My God, you're going to get us in trouble. Jeez. You're not a gun owner, are you? Who am I kidding? You watch my show. Of course you're a gun owner. Thank you. You are the best morning must-watch for U.S. I guess all these facts don't matter to the lib turds. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate the compliment. And tell Angela I said hi. We'd like to keep you laughing. Ball State alum Jeffrey with a $10 super chat. Gretchen Carlson is a bimbo on parade. Oh, now that's too. How dare you? I actually do like Gretchen. I've known her for a long time. She's gone her own way politically. I don't know if I'd call her a bimbo. She was Miss America, and she plays the violin. That's hot. But thank you for your contribution, Jeffrey. Rosario Cicero with the $1.99 super chat. KJP is an independent in name only. That's true. She's just being independent to sell books, and it ain't working. But it was Rosario watching yesterday's show and just decided to chime in with that today. Thank you, Rosario. Gracias. Jeff Depew, Sr. Don't hate, accept the accuser of the brethren. Kabuki mask. You follow that one?
I think that's just a general don't hate in your heart mess.
That's fair. God bless you, man. Starch Manning. This is the hater, right? $2 super chat. The Epstein Memorial Ballroom. Oh, damn it. That's it. We should just pack it up and leave. We can't. That's just, an Epstein reference. That's incredible. Yeah, because of all of those flights on the Lolita Express and the massages from the underage girls and the. Oh no, that was Bill Clinton. That's right. Patrick, £5 super chat. Do Dem voters really tell the leaders to attack and kill Republicans, or are those leaders deliberately misinterpreting the term fight harder? Yeah. Good question. I think that the leadership reflects the base right now in Washington more than the base is taking their orders from the leadership. That's what I think.
Larry, we got 4 more, but we got to rapid fire them because you've got to get out of here.
Oh, I do. I have an interview in 4 minutes. Thank you. GBF, £5 super chat. While renovating the house, can you throw a lick of black paint on it? No, it's the White House. Stop that. How dare you? You want it to look like the door at number 10 Downing Street, don't you? GBF, £2 super chat. Some people need urgent humor transplant. Yes, that is true. Ball State alum, $5 super. Oh, a double dip from Ball State alum. The last time the White House got renovated, Truman, the freaking cornerstone, disappeared. Is that true? Who took it? A Democrat. GBF, £2 super chat. That's not RFK in the gym. It's Joe Biden. That's a deep fake if I've ever seen one. Thank you guys for watching. Nice beefy show today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Bless you, dear. My wife just sneezed. Men bless you, dear, as well. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Is today Thursday?
Yes, tomorrow's Friday.
So we have a Friday. Does that mean we have Chris DeGaulle tomorrow?
I think so. I'll
check. Damn, Chris DeGaulle is going to join us tomorrow for our special Friday extravaganza brought to you by the Lion. But that's tomorrow. Right now, we're wrapping it up. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.